political commentary stuff I do is just because I think our modern society, the culture of it, there's like a sickness that's trying to invade our modern society. It's been pushed on us, in my opinion, by the mainstream, and they've been doing it for decades now. And I just kind of woke up to it. This is not what we want. This is not good or wholesome for human beings. It's not good for our kids. It's not a good future. So I try to fight back against it.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Grumpy Acres. Listen, I got a special guest with me today, Native Voice from Native and Devout. I asked him to come up here and talk to us a little bit and tell us about his journey. I think he's got a really cool story to tell, and I wanted to share him with you guys and hopefully do some cross pollination on our channels and everything. I know that some of our subscribers are already subscribed to you. They're a Native because I see them in your chat all the time.
Awesome.
So,
Yeah, I've had a few come over and tell me that
okay.
they're from Grumpy. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So first off, let's talk a little bit about how you got started in all this. You know, where are you located? Let's begin with that. Where are you located?
I'm in the Sand Hills region of South Carolina, not too far actually from the North Carolina border.
Oh, love that area down there, man. That Tidewater area up there is just
Oh yeah.
gorgeous, man. I remember cast netting for shrimp in New River Sound back when I was stationed there.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
Nice.
had a good time. Um,
Sure.
so so how long have you been at it? So you've gone into prep studying, but naturally it started as a prepper, right?
Right.
And
Um,
so how long you been doing that?
uh, 15 plus years, officially as a prepper. When I got out of the military, I was stationed over in Kosovo, and I kind of got a glimpse of what happens when a modern society falls and there's no government and you're on your own. And it kind of stuck with me. So when I came back over here, I didn't want to end up like those folks. So my first foray into prepping was just making sure I always had plenty of food and water on hand. And it grew from there. Somewhere along the line, I heard the word prepper. I don't know if it was that show that used to come on, Doomsday Preppers or something. I heard the word prepper and I was like, what is that? And I looked into it and I said, that's what I am. I'm a prepper. And I got serious about it and found out a lot of things I was just doing was not the proper way to prepare, especially for long-term food storage. And so I don't know, it just grew from there. And I mean, now, I mean, we, God, we got tons of 5 gallon buckets that we use and Mylar bags. I mean, we were advanced preppers for a long time. And eventually I reached the idea. I was like, you get a couple of years of food supply and you're like, okay, am I going to continue doing this? I mean, what am I going to do? Get 30 years of food? I mean, and it kind of led me into believe and realizing I need to learn to grow my own food so that I'll have my own preps. I don't have to buy from anywhere because eventually that's what I needed. And that's where we are now in the transition from trying to be homesteaders and maintaining and rotating out our long-term preps.
Right, right. Was there anything specific that you remember that in your mind that like that's the point that I figured it out? Because mine was when I read Joe Salatin's book, Folks This Ain't Normal, which is about the just-in-time uh, food delivery system. And that I was like, it was a mind-opening experience for me, to be honest with you. And I completely changed. I've been prepping for about 4 or 5 years by that point, and it just changed my. Was there anything like that for you that just triggered it for you?
Honestly, I don't think there was one thing. Um, once I realized what prepping was and how serious it was, I was still a young man. I was in my 20s and I wasn't really paying attention to politics and all that stuff and what was going on in the world and how fragile our society was. I actually started reading a fiction series by A. American called The Survivalist.
Mhm.
And I read it was like an EMP scenario, what happened to him and him having, he I think he was like 300 miles from home and he had to walk home and he talks about prepping and he talked about a lot of things that I had already done as a prepper, but then it makes you realize, okay, once it happens, yeah, you've got your preps and you'll be okay for a year or two. But what if society never comes back? And I think that was kind of a moment I had to wake up and realize, okay, I gotta be more advanced than just stocking and storing stuff.
Right, right. That moment that I realized that the prepping was a finite solution to what could be an infinite problem was a
Right.
big deal for me. You know, so
Absolutely.
so you reached that point and you decided that you were going to start raising your own food. Your preps were going to be on the hoof instead of in a jar, right?
Right.
So
Absolutely.
so what I'll can you tell people without giving too much information away about what you're doing on the homestead and how you're trying to fill those holes and take care of the issues that you see?
Absolutely. I want to say about 8 years ago is when I got serious about preparing to be a homesteader. And the first thing I did was build a greenhouse and, learn that process, how it works, especially for my specific region. I mean, our growing season is 9, 10 months long here where I live. So,
I'm jealous.
uh, yeah, yeah. So greenhouses here are more just for if you're growing tropical plants, which we try to grow coffee here. We haven't had much luck at it. Stuff keeps tearing up my greenhouses and then killing my coffee plants, but we'll get there. Yeah. And then the next step, the very next year, I was like, well, I'm gonna get some chickens. I was like, that seems something easy, a good place to start. Learn animal husbandry. We'll be able to get eggs from them. It's something we can constantly gather protein from without killing the animal. So we started doing that, and eventually, I started looking deeper into the self-sufficient ideology, and um, I wanted an animal that not only could produce meat and food and stuff like that, but even beyond that, could produce manure for compost that could be used as kind of a bulldozer, something that could go and help us colonize our woods and turn it into pasture for larger animals. And, so I started looking into pigs, and pig is an animal that historically almost every part of it has been used for food. There's ways to learn biodiesel, like you use the pig fat to burn down to make your own fuels and stuff like that. You're gonna need lard if you're going to make soap. Methane digesters that produce natural gas. Now, all these different things that I've researched, I know that I can do just by learning to raise this one animal. Not to mention, you can't go into shift without having a source of bacon and sausage. I mean, you know what I mean? So that's where we are now. We're chicken farmers and pig farmers, um, trying to learn to go deeper into it to sustain ourselves through their meat.
Now it's been a while since I was out in that part of the country, but historically there's not a lot of beef raised out there, is there? It's mostly pork and chicken, right?
Yeah, on small scale. I mean, there's folks who have their own cattle, but it's not like they're not making money off the cattle. They're making little side hustles or raising it for their own beef. Like
It's
right
not
across
like
the road, our neighbors across the road, they have a nice little cattle herd, but
nice,
it's just for them.
nice. It's not like the CAFO stockyards out here with
Oh yeah, no
50,000
doubt.
heads of cattle roaming around in it.
Not at all. Not
Yeah,
at all.
but so that's awesome, man. So how many acres do you have?
36.
36. Okay. Are you able to have the pigs allowed you to open it up and start using more of it?
Yeah, here recently, I think the actual pinned portion of our little farm here is about half an acre. And so what we did is there's an opening in the back part of the fence to where we can make like a chute
Mhm.
to kind of usher the pigs into another pen behind it. And that's kind of our idea to keep opening up like a little quarter-acre section, let the pigs live for 6 months, let them root up and get all the undergrowth and everything out, and keep expanding the pasture. And while they're doing that, we're harvesting trees from that area too, and trying to plant it in different seeds once we move them out. It's a learning process, and it takes a while, because my wife and I both have full-time jobs.
Oh yeah.
So we're doing this when we get home and on the weekends. But We have a couple of people who come over on weekends and help us out who are investing, in this place, so that they'll be with us no matter what.
So before you started expanding, you said you're on you're doing most of your stuff on half an acre.
Yeah, I'm following a book that written by John Seymour. It's called The Self-Sufficient Life and How to Live It. And in that book, it maps out how to have a 1 acre farm. And then it expands. Okay. And then you can have a 5 acre farm and then 10 acres. And then once you get there, you'll know how to expand your farm or ranch, whatever, as you need it. So we're starting with the 1 acre.
That's
My
awesome.
my philosophy is if we can't do it with 1 acre, we shouldn't try to do it with 36. And so we're building out from that 1 acre perspective, even though we have 36 acres.
Right. I think that's awesome. I mean, so many times I hear people say, well, I don't have 10, 20 acres to do all that stuff on. And you're putting proof to the fact that you can do it on an acre or less and
Oh yeah,
have a full-blown homestead.
right.
So,
I
there
fully believe
you go.
I fully believe it, especially with our modern knowledge. Even though shift will probably put us in a primitive, standpoint, we still have the knowledge to know how to do these different things on a smaller scale, like growing vertical and having aquaponics and hydroponics. You can do that on half an acre, quarter acre.
Mhm.
I mean, you know,
That's awesome. That's awesome. So, so you share a lot of this stuff on your channel. You want to tell people a little bit about what you're sharing and what you're trying to do with that portion of your channel?
absolutely. I always tell folks, I'm not here to tell anyone this is the way you have to do it or anything like that. I'm not trying to portray myself as an expert. I just try to portray myself as someone, this is what I'm doing because of what I believe. And I'm going to fail and make mistakes. And you'll be able to learn from that by watching me, because I always try to learn from my mistakes. And one thing about having the YouTube channel is there's going to be people in the comments, there's going to be people in the chat and on live streams who are either, just starting out, or they're where I am, or they've been doing it for 10 years already. And this is what they've learned. And they'll share their experiences with me. And that way we all learn from each other.
Oh,
Um,
absolutely.
you know what I'm saying? Just the process.
And we were talking about it last week, and your series about growing stuff from grocery store cutoffs,
Oh,
like
yeah.
the heads of cabbage. I don't even what all did you do in that series? It was a really neat series, folks. You ought to go to Native's channel. I'll put the link up here, and it'll be at the end, so you can go there if you want. But you ought to go check it out. He does some pretty cool stuff. You know.
Yeah, I mean, I've always wondered, like, we get all these different vegetables and fruits and stuff from the grocery stores, and I mean, they have seeds in them, some of them. I mean, some of them are from plants I know will regenerate themselves, like cabbage, or lettuce will do the same thing, or kale or collard greens, anything in that. Broccoli will do it. And it's just stuff I remembered from when I was in college, getting my biology degree in botany class, because we would do stuff like that. And he would bring in like cabbage heads and stuff in the lab and show us this is how easy it is to, repropagate plants and all these different things. Um, but the cabbage one was cool. Because you can keep doing it over and over and over. And I was just thinking, if you had a small space, and even like you live in an apartment, or you had like windowsill, planters or something, or just big house plant pots in a window where it gets most of the sunlight, you could grow food. I mean, there's different ways to do it. It's not traditional. There's a lot of learning curve. Like, you'd really have to actually, try to do it. Because a lot of the ones that when I started doing the cabbage, a lot of them died because it was like I said, it was a learning curve. I wasn't using enough dirt. There weren't enough water. But once you figure out that little bell curve, that perfect pocket, you can do it over and over and over. And the onions was my favorite, because I always, when we buy onions, there's always like the last two that start kind of shriveling up and growing those little
Mhm.
sprouts just
Yep.
in the house. I'm like, dang it. But you can take those and you can take one onion and make 4 or 6 more. So that was pretty cool figuring that out. That was my favorite one and the most successful one. Everyone we planted grew.
Awesome. Yoda's thing was sweet potatoes. and learning how to make sweet potato
Yeah.
slips. And you guys are in a place where sweet potatoes can grow really well there.
Oh yeah. They
So
love it.
if anybody's looking to try something like that, onions and sweet potatoes are in my opinion, probably the easiest ones to do from scratch if you don't have any back.
Absolutely.
You know.
Absolutely. And
So
once you
you
get
said you
those,
got people that come and help you. I know on your channel you've talked about community building, and you were talking about having a get together or a potluck or something here in the future. And I know you guys have done meetups in the past. You want to
Mhm.
talk a little bit about that? Tell us how you're trying to build community.
Absolutely. So I mean, I'll be honest, the pioneers of that with our little group are Hutch from Hutch Homestead and Backwoods. They've had 3 or 4 meetups already over across Mississippi and Missouri. I think even the last one, AJ Prepping for Life, he's out in Kansas. He actually showed up in Missouri at the recent meetup, and but we are planning one in March. It's going to be on the border between West Virginia and North Carolina in Pilot Mountain. That's the name of the state park where we're going to be meeting up at. And the whole idea behind it is with as far as community building goes, you know, once all this is gone, like once there's that event happens and we're in shift, there's no more internet and it's hard for us to reach each other, you know, us like-minded folks. We're trying to put meeting points in place already. Okay, this is a place we've already met. We're meeting in person, you know, we're exchanging those memes with each other in person off the internet so no one can track us and know what we're doing, you know, and building those friendships and making those plans and putting things in place. So when the, you know, the balloon does go up, we have points, you know. So I think each meetup is going to start becoming like a safe point to where we know, and there's been talk of people figuring out a message system to where we can leave messages for each other that this it's just a code, just let us know so and so is here, we went this direction, you know, towards this meetup point. So,
That's really cool. So our channel, we're one of the community leaders over on freesteading.com. If anybody comes from our channel, you probably hear them talk about it.
okay.
You know, the building community, the whole reason why that whole platform started was to build community. And the cool thing about it, and you kind of hit on it the other day, and that's the reason why I wanted to talk to you, to be honest with you, because about the whole community building thing. But this idea of building communities, I'd like to say that freesteading is the heart and soul of it, but it's
Right.
this is popping up. People are coming to the same conclusion all over the United States, and it's happening organically, which I think is awesome. And the way you talk about it and the way you said it happened is just phenomenal. And it's just more and more people are beginning to think the same way. You know, and you mentioned Hutch. I wish I would have been into the whole watching live streams and doing all that stuff like 2 or 3 years ago, because
Uh-huh.
our old homestead was about 2 hours away from where he lives. Like
Oh man, really?
not even a long day trip.
Oh gosh.
Now it's kind of a chore to get down there. I mean, it's a day trip, but it's a really long one. You know, it's one of those ones where you don't leave the chickens out very long. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah, I hear you. I hear you, man.
I think that's awesome.
I do too. I think it's important. I like the way you put it. You're right. There are a lot of people popping up, like even some of the bigger channels who are doing the same thing. And I've heard of other people, they're doing their meetups, you know, on the like on their own, like, you know, it's almost like we're putting things in place that we're building a parallel economy almost, you know, to what the modern society is now. To eventually, even if the shift doesn't happen, once we put these things in place, we can have our own network, you know, which I think that's another positive part of it too.
You guys do a lot of bartering.
Uh, I mean, not traditionally, but we've discussed it all, well, a lot of it, and we've even tried to map out like what each person's strength is and how we can help each other by, you know, I can produce this, you can produce this. At our meetups we can do a large exchange. I mean, uh like I said, we haven't really started it yet, but it's something we have discussed because I think it's important.
Awesome. Awesome. I agree 100% with that. Okay. So you got anything else you want to tell people about your homestead there, that before we go on to the next questions I got? Because your channel's kind of a mix. You got your homesteading part, and then you got a social political commentary part. And I kind of want to talk about that too, because that's originally what drew me to you. I mean, and then
Okay.
that's I've been watching it. But do you got any future plans for the homestead?
Yeah, absolutely. We actually are in our little group. We're talking about pulling our money together and actually purchasing a piece of land together. And we're going to call it a hunting camp now. But also, for anyone who buys into it, you can also build a homestead there if that's what you want to do. And the whole like the political commentary stuff I do is just because I think our modern society, the culture of it, there's like a sickness that's trying to invade our modern society. It's been pushed on us, in my opinion, by the mainstream, and they've been doing it for decades now. And I just kind of woke up to it. This is not what we want. This is not good or wholesome for human beings. It's not good for our kids. It's not a good future. So I try to fight back against it. Um, I used to call it going after the culture and just pushing a more positive culture. And we try to do, like I said, the political commentary, just to share information with people. But we also try to do some creative stuff. We have fiction series we do. It takes longer to do those, but we're getting better at it. And where we have our own little like show, like series that we're doing.
Mhm.
We do comedy and stuff. Hutch does stop motion. He has a stop motion thing that he did a long time ago. It was freaking brilliant. I pick on him for being a drama geek because I said you told on yourself. But it's just all about the culture. It's not just about us pushing our philosophy and of being self-sufficient and homesteading and farming and gardening and growing your own food and not being dependent on a larger entity to take care of you. It's also that those cultural ideas that we get, like it's as an example, Disney. They push a lot of this woke culture that I think is toxic for young people, and we're starting to find out more and more in schools. They're pushing it on our kids and stuff. So this is our way of pushing back against that, making our own stuff so that we don't have to worry about watching Disney. We can watch Dave and DeVal. We can watch Grumpy Acres. We can watch Hutch. You know.
That's awesome. You mentioned your creative stuff. I got to tell you, man, the first video in that series where a devout lion did not get killed, I was a little upset. I was a little let down on that, because
No, right.
every single video it seemed like he was
Yeah,
getting killed.
he was like, that was like an issue. He's like, man, look, I don't want to be typecast. I don't want to be the guy who always dies in the episode. I was like, all right, man, we'll do one.
That's funny. Oh man, do you find it hard, like, keeping a balance these days? Because you ran your story of running afoul of the powers that be at YouTube is kind of infamous on the circles that we both run in. Everybody knows about it. You find it hard striking a balance today with everything that's going on.
Yeah, I mean, especially when we're trying to do what we're doing and having the point of view that we have on a platform like YouTube, which is in itself notorious for suppressing those ideas and pushing the mainstream narrative. Um, it gets to the point to where you're constantly learning new ways to code what you're talking about, or not, or avoiding topics that you really want to talk about because you're interested in it and you want to get information out and you want people to give you more information on it. It's hard to do it. I mean, I've had 8 strikes on YouTube.
Ouch.
Yeah, it's good that they go away after 3 months, and so you get a clean slate. But like, I'm under 2 strikes right now. I just got one Friday for a video I did over a year ago. I don't even remember what the video was about. It's ridiculous. Like, it's how can you guard yourself, about something you said a year ago, and then once you get the strike, they delete the video, so you can't even go back and watch the video and figure out what it is you said that now doesn't meet their standards.
Well,
It's
they're,
frustrating.
they're constantly moving the goalposts on us.
Yeah.
So what's okay now may not be okay, later on. We actually had one of our videos get taken off, but it's weird. I didn't get a strike or anything. They just disappeared it, you know, and it was
Right.
a 20-second short. Go figure, you know.
That's weird. Yeah.
You know, and then, you know,
It
there's a
seems
lot.
arbitrary. All of it seems so arbitrary. And it's just, it makes you wonder, are they just doing this because I'm a threat or is someone reporting me? Like, I don't get it. Like, there's no rhyme or reason to some of the things they do.
I think it's probably a combination of everything.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff going on in the world right now, and one of the things that concerns us here is the attack on independent farmers. That there seems like there's a concerted attack on independent farmers and producers. You know, as a
Mhm.
homesteader, you fall into that category. Have you given much thought to that, or you got any concerns there, or are you taking active measures to make sure you don't run into problems without going into too
Yeah.
much detail, of course?
That's a good point. I'm glad you brought that up. I'm with you. I've seen the concerted effort to shut down independent farmers, but right now it seems like they're attacking like the commercial, the ones who make their living off of it to produce large amounts of stuff. And peripherally, people who just are like us, we're just trying to grow food for us. We're kind of affected by it. It looks like it's state by state too. So I mean, here in South Carolina, there's not a lot of industry here. There never has been. I think our biggest money maker is tourism. You know, like the coast, Myrtle Beach, and all that stuff. So I mean, the rest of it, there's not really much here. Um, so we don't. I mean, we're a deep red state. We've never really had much problems that way. But as far as seeing what's coming down the pipe, I mean, you're right. I think eventually the powers that be, they're going to push for that. They're going to try to shut us all down. I mean, all we got to do is look north to Canada, where it's illegal to raise your own chickens in your backyard. That's weird to me. Um, so here, um, I don't know. I just all of our stuff, we're deep within the 36 acres. Like you can't see us from the road. You'd have to fly over. And I've had we try to plan to build our stuff into the woods and incorporate trees to give cover and stuff. But I don't know. Who knows how long that, especially when you get bigger animals. I mean, what are you going to do? You know, the only thing I can see is going to come to blows eventually.
Yeah, we had one of our friends, Kansas. Kansas has a office called the Department of Noxious Weeds, and
Wow.
he actually had a couple of government officials show up at his gate wanting to come on his property to inspect his property. He's got a pretty big tract of land. He's got well over 100 acres. I can't say exactly how much, but yeah, they shut up his gate and wanted to come onto his land and inspect his land for this weed that's really prevalent around here that the government imported and planted for livestock, and then they figured out that it was noxious, you know, it was invasive. So now it's
Yeah.
illegal. So now we have to get rid of this stuff or pay a fine if they come to our door, you know.
What's
So
their authority? I mean, like if they come up, do they have to have them warned, are you just supposed to let them on?
well, according to the government, you're supposed to let them on, but if you call the sheriff and tell them you're trespassing, that if you live in the right county, the sheriff will come out and take care of the problem for you. You know, so that's it. So yeah, we watched Farmageddon the other day. Have you seen that movie?
Armageddon? Nah,
No, Farmageddon, like FARM. It's about the attack on raw milk, the raw
nah.
milk industry.
I'd like to look that one up.
Yeah, and I highly we're actually going to do a review on it here in the
Nice,
next week or so.
nice.
But one of the instances they were talking about was a guy in Georgia that was crossing over into South Carolina to buy his raw milk and take it back, and they caught him and they made him pour out probably 60-80 gallons worth of milk. Because I guess it's a federal offense to transport raw milk across state lines, you know?
It sounds like something you would see in like a spoof or something.
Yeah,
Like, are you serious? This is what our tax dollars are paying for them to track down people trying to transport milk across the state lines.
absolutely.
Jesus.
Yeah. Well, you know, where do you see things going forward for you on the channel and just in life in general?
Well, since we've started there's a little pocket, a handful of us who started our own website. It's called Liberty Fellowship. Um, Honestly, I'm trying to really do a big push to do most of my content there. This last strike being real, I can't post for 2 weeks now on YouTube, and if I get another strike, they'll delete my channel.
Oh
And
man.
like I said before, it's also arbitrary. Like it's stupid. Why does it matter? It's something I said over a year ago. Why, it's just stupid. And if I get another strike, they'll just delete my entire presence on YouTube. So I'm trying to build something off these dangerous platforms that try to stifle free speech. And so there is going to be a big push to get all my stuff on that website and other places too. I will say this: I've never been interested in Twitter. I always thought it was stupid, but now that the Elon's taking it over, I see him as an agent of chaos. He's creating chaos on something. So I have uh, been working on a presence there on Twitter just because it's fun now. Trump's back on Twitter. I'm looking forward to some mean tweets, man. I really am.
There you go.
But, I just want to be a part of the chaos as long as we can. But as far as here on the Prepstead, the push here for 2023 is to finish paying off certain debts, because once those debts are paid off, I don't need a full-time job anymore. So I want to reduce my presence at work, go part-time, and then all that other free time just put into here. There's a lot of stuff that needs to be done. I think me and you talked about reaching the point to where I'm growing most of the food I need for my animals.
Yep.
Because that's a major expense that I need a job to have. I need to feed my animals. But we are building a smokehouse, and that's one of the main reasons, we're doing it, because we have pigs. We want to do our own sausage. I got a brand new sausage grinder for Christmas from my in-laws. I haven't used it yet. It's like a professional level, so I got to learn to use that and make our own sausages and learn to cure our own bacon, all that stuff. But there's a lot I need to learn if I'm going to be serious about moving from Prepstead to Homestead. And so 2023 is going to be that big push.
Yep, same here. We're trying to get things back on track. Okay, we got about 7 minutes left before I run out of time. I asked a couple of my subscribers if they had any questions for you. And I only had 2 people respond back, but I got a couple of questions for you.
Right.
One is from a cat named Bug Out Bushido.
Oh, that guy.
And he wants to know why Calf Scouts wear that funny hat.
You know what? You know why? You know why Bushido? He wouldn't understand because he's a Marine.
Hey
But
now.
we wear those special hats, man. They're called a Stetson, by the way, and you earn it when you do your spur ride. And we wear it to let other people know that real recon is done by Calf Scouts, not Marines.
See, you need to post a picture of you and your Stetson, man. Okay, now as a follow-up question, one of our subscribers, Milkmaid, she had a question, and she wanted to know if you can still recite Fiddler's Green.
No, you know what? I haven't heard that or spoke that in many, many years. I bet it's been a decade.
So what is, tell everybody what Fiddler's, I had to look it up because I didn't have any idea what she was talking about.
The Fiddler's Green.
Yeah, what's the significance of it?
I mean, it's from my understanding, it's like a poem that Calf Scouts recite. It's about recon and all that stuff. She's put me on the spot with this one. Gosh, I haven't thought about this. I can't believe she knows that. She always does this. She always brings up stuff, man.
Well, don't forget her hubby was active duty Army.
Yep.
So she's an Army wife. She knows all the secrets.
Oh man, she's on it. She's on it. But that was pretty good, Milkmaid. You put me on the spot. I'm going to do like a short or something. Reciting Fiddler's Green now.
You can always cheat and put it right below the camera.
Yeah, yeah, there you go. I
awesome.
memorized this.
Well, we are almost out of time. That's one of the bad things about using this free version of Zoom is we run out of time. But I think, we covered everything that I wanted to ask you. We've got like 4 minutes that we can still talk. You got any final closing thoughts that you want to share with people?
I mean, I'll just say this, man. If you guys are paying attention to what's going on in the world, and even our own country, man. If you see the madness of how people are so blind to some of the things you might see, and you're wondering, are people going to wake up and do the right thing? Are they going to vote the right people in? I think every election we see how much how divided we are, and how many people are not going to wake up. As long as they can go to McDonald's and get a hamburger or order a pizza from Pizza Hut, they're going to, or they can go to Walmart or whatever. As long as their shows come on time, they're not going to wake up and pay attention. So the powers that be who are trying to do bad things are going to be able to do bad things. And if you see that, you need to prepare for it. Like, beyond just storing stuff, you need to start arming yourself with information and knowledge. And we were talking about books, and I see your wonderful library behind you. That's your internet, guys. You better be building your analog internet. I can't stress that enough on any and every topic. You need to learn how to repair your cars if they break down, electricity, plumbing, appliances, growing food. I mean, bushcrafting, turning trees into lumber. I mean, there's so many different things you're going to need to know once it goes up. If you don't want to suffer, or you don't want to be someone who is dependent on someone else in the shift. You don't want to be that person. You want to be the person who was ready and who was building something after the shift happens, so that you're not just surviving, you're thriving. You're one of the few people in the shift who's going to be thriving
Yeah.
and building something afterwards.
And like Billy Bond says it all the time. He says, you don't have to be an expert at everything, but you should at least be conversant. You should be able to have a conversation about it. And that's what all this is about. I've read all these books, but don't ask me to tell you what's in them all.
Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
breaking it open and looking it up, man.
There you go, brother. Like, I don't know. Like, I'm like you. I have a library, but I don't know what all those books say. But I will know when I need to,
Yep.
and I'll have them. I don't have to go online. I don't have to go look for information. It'll be right there.
All right, folks. So pay attention to what Native said, man. You got to keep your eyes open. You got to arm yourself. We won't fortify our positions with knowledge, right?
There you go. That's it.
And with that said, thanks for stopping by, Native. I really appreciate you coming by and talking to me. I had a great time on your channel the other night, by the way. Just had a blast, man. It was a good time. I wish we could have paid more attention to the chat, but I just talking to you back and forth was more than.
Sometimes you have those good conversations, man. It just go back and forth.
So you guys, last word from me, as always, go live a life done free. Okay, and we are clear. Thanks, Milo.